It's 1 o'clock, so I will go ahead and get this going. It's really a pretty short agenda today, so hopefully I don't think we'll have to keep you too long. But a couple things on there that we did want to discuss today. And I'm going to actually reverse the order of them, if that's okay with everybody. I'm going to talk about the Hyde roof first. I think we had mentioned this just a little bit at our last meeting. So in March, there was some storm damage to the roof down at Hyde. And many of you, I'm sure, are aware Hyde is the old slate roof, which lots of times they will tell you it's a lifetime roof, and we maybe have gotten our lifetime out of that in about 130 years. And so initially the insurance company came back and to do repairs, they were talking about roughly in the ballpark of $360,000 they were going to pay to do repairs. That included some flat sections, but also included some replacement of some tiles in some areas. And to get non-matching tile was going to be December before we could get that in. And to get matching tile was going to be next summer before we could get that in. And so as we're talking about this, I visited with Casey and Mickey quite a bit about this. And I said, you know, we kind of came to the discussion that maybe it's time we start looking at moving to a regular traditional roofing there, so that we don't have these continuous issues. We may fix and replace this area that was damaged during the storm, but then we constantly have had issues with leaks and things like that down there. So we went back to the insurance company and proposed to them that, hey, we're going to ask you to maybe take a look at this and possibly doing a full replacement with regular shingles, and possibly us come back a little bit, you know, and have a little skin in the game on both sides. So after some back and forth and talking and everything, they came back and they're going to put in about $445,000 now. We're going to end up getting about $625,000 of roof work done, and we're putting in about $179,000. That includes another section of roof, chimney cap area that was not storm related, but was discovered as we were inspecting. There's about $24,000 of damage there that needed to be repaired also. So insurance wouldn't have been part of that, but that $25,000 roughly is part of our $179 in it. So this is also going to include new guttering, new downspouts. So we really feel like this is going to be a good move long term. And so as I share with you the budget amendment, some of that money in there is going to be part of what we're doing with the Hyde roofs there and everything. So I asked Mickey and Casey to come today too, in case you all had any questions that got into technical aspects that I might not be able to answer.
I have a question.
Yes?
Did we get bids?
We did. We sent this out to a wide range to 25 different companies.
Through co-op.
Through the co-op, and we had one company return a bid, and that was a local bid. That was Roberts Roofing here in town.
So when we do the co-op, we don't have to advertise that locally?
It goes through the co-op, and so they put it out to all different.
What's the co-op?
So it's a cooperative purchasing agreement. What happens with these is they bid the goods and materials for 3 years through all these companies across the United States. And now Roberts Roofing is part of the co-op as well. So what happens is whenever I put in a request for a job, details of what it is, the scope of work, then it automatically goes to, this particular one is Tips USA. They're based in Texas. They service all the Midwest and the East Coast. So they send it out to all their vendors across the states. This is an opportunity for you to bid on. And you give them a certain amount of time to do it. And then once if they turn in their bid at the deadline, just like our normal one, then you go through the process, awarding the bids, checking their bonds. So they go through and check all the bonding capacity and everything prior to and vet the vendors out.
How many local roofers are in that co-op?
Just one that I'm aware of.
So would it be logical to think then we're probably going to use a local person, and it's only one person instead of multiple roofers locally that gets an opportunity to bid?
Well, they have the opportunity to be part of that co-op and bid through that as well.
Is it
Really what this
fee or
does
something?
gives us a much wider exposure to a lot more opportunities. It's really very similar to state contracting.
I just ask a lot of
Yeah,
questions
sure.
because
No, you're good.
I know what happens is people then clap back and say, well, why didn't these 6 people get a chance, they're local. Well, I don't know, how do they get to be the co-op? Have you advertised like, hey, every roofer in town, you want to be a part of the co-op? We need this, 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 and this, and you can join. If not, it looks like we're funneling stuff to one company, and that's just my perception.
Sure.
And I'm
And some-
sure the watchdoggers will be screaming too. so
Some
I like that.
companies choose not to be part of the TIPS program or co-ops, then that's their choice too. They have to take upon themselves to get into the co-ops.
But if, like me, I don't know about the co-op, and if I was a roofing company, maybe I wouldn't know.
But
about
if you were a roofer, you would.
You
would.
You would know,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
it. Okay.
What's the name of the co-op?
TIPS.
Tips USA.
TIPS?
Are there certain requirements to become a member of the co-op?
Pretty much just get a hold of them, sign up the paperwork, and some of them you have to pay, some you don't. But it's out reaching out to them and getting enrolled in it.
Probably proof of bonding capacity, things like
Yeah,
that.
for a contractor, it's a rather lengthy process too.
You said some do. It's a rather lengthy contractor, or process.
For a process for a contractor, yeah, they full bit as far as basically the background recommendations from other companies, everything,
Bonding.
absolutely.
So when we do an RFP, like we did for like the project at Hilliard's, we advertise semi-local, but do you think would it not be beneficial to not just limit ourselves to the co-op, but also put it in the St. Joe paper and run a thing that, hey, we're getting bids for a roof that
Well,
gives?
also part of this is working with our insurance company as well too. And so it's not just only our project. This was in cooperation with the insurance company about how this process was done too.
Well, I know most insurance companies allow you to choose your contractor, so
Sure.
I'm just asking questions. It's better to get clarity on camera than to have
Right.
people come to their own conclusions out there.
And before
defend
the
it.
insurance company would agree to it, they actually had to go back to the in-between company kind of went back to them and said, hey, yes, this was put out through TIPS, 25 different, contractors had the opportunity to look at that and everything, so that they could vet that fully before somebody would sign off on the insurance side.
Sure.
There's a third-party contractor called Graco Nationwide. They actually come and assess the job, look at everything, the scope of work, and approve that scope of work for the insurance company as well as us. And that's when we put it out for the contractors to bid on.
Sure. I'd just rather the people watching have the answers instead of their coming their own conclusions.
Also, the hide roof is, it's an intricate job. There's some pretty steep pitch on several areas of that roof. It's an extensive amount of scaffolding.
Especially the slate. A lot of people are scared of
A
slate.
lot of people don't want to deal with the tear off with the slate and things like that, so, yeah. That, I will tell you, probably limited maybe some companies that might have bid.
Thank you. I just was just clarifying.
What type of roof are they putting on it, you know?
It's what they consider a lifetime shingle. It's impact resistant. Basically, it's kind of like similar to a 50-year shingle. It's thicker, heavier than your normal residential.
So it's a rubberized one, or is it a typical asphalt?
I believe it was asphalt based.
Asphalt, yeah.
In our region, nothing lasts a lifetime. And
No.
Right.
as a professional inspector, I'm on roofs every day, so.
We laugh about the term lifetime.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a 50-year shingle.
Yeah.
It may last my lifetime.
Yeah, but if you fall off the roof today, it might last you a lifetime.
It'll be a construction grade asphalt shingle.
How about the underlayment? Are they doing the 30-pound felt or a different type of material?
So the underlayment, it's not their typical slat that you normally are with a slate roof. It's actually a full sheeted roof. So in the disclosure in the agreement is that they have to replace any damaged spots, rotted, and then they'll put a tar paper, like a felt back tar paper underneath the new shingles.
With the 50-year shingles? Totally.
Yeah.
So if all goes well, how long will the process take, and when would they get started?
That's the other piece, is they have this material in stock. We'll be able to get started this fall, so.
I talked to the contractor this morning. They're anticipating possibly, they're still waiting on some of the materials to be started in October,
You know about how long it'll take?
about 2 months.
2 months.
So we have a short time window between fall and winter to get this done before any further damage to the roof.
And have you sent a copy of the proposals to the board members? Do you guys do that for them just to look at it? I'm just curious.
I haven't sent those details. I've sent the numbers and everything as we've been going through this.
When was it sent, the proposal? Or the request for it?
When was
So you went through Tips USA, right?
the?
When did you submit the request that we needed a roofer?
You submit the proposal online.
Yeah,
What was
I mean,
that?
You submit it online to them,
Okay.
and then they spread it out to their,
When was it sent?
That's probably about close to a month ago.
Yeah, probably about a month ago.
Logistic wise, with such a major project, it takes a while to get that.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, I've been, in your weekly update, I'm kind of sending you that, where that process has been.
Yeah, I did see that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Sure. So, I think you mentioned that, I wanted to just make sure about it, is we're locked into this process of using this, because I tend to agree with Agent Cho big time on this. And also, like you said something about, some of them have fees, some of them don't have fees to belong to these organizations. This tip, what is it?
Tips.
Tips, okay. So does this one have a fee or not?
I don't know if Tips have debit fees.
there's no fee for us.
It's up to the contractor, it's not up to the school district for that.
No, but that does make a difference, because then if there is a fee to belong to this organization, then, is it $5 or 5,000? So that could eliminate a lot of, possibilities for startup companies maybe.
Right.
So-
You're gonna look to 2 to 5% fee depending on the job, depending on what the contract is that they bid against with tips. You're looking at a 2% to a 5% fee that the contractor pays, which the cost would be passed on to us, most likely. That's per contract, per job that they bid on through Tips USA.
Okay, Roberts Roofing, do they or do they not pay a fee to tips?
I think he's saying they're paying a percentage. I'm like, if I get a referral to list
So the
something
answer
out
is
from a
yes.
company, I have to pay a referral.
The answer is yes.
Yes,
Two
sir.
percent of the, what, $600,000 deal? 2% of a $600,000 deal? Huh? That's a reasonable fee, that isn't it? So there's a fee to join. Do they, then, I don't like the fact that they eliminate these other 6 or 8 companies in town that, I'm pretty sure people like Hausman's are capable of doing this. But it seems like they do get locked out. Now, so that gets me back to the question is, are they locked out because the insurance, one of you, I think maybe it's you, Mickey, or whatever, you said that, hey, since the insurance has kind of control of this is money, so to speak, then does that drive it where we have to go through them, or could we, in fact, put out, do the same way we're doing, but then offer up to all the local regional ones on our own bid process at the same time? And then the insurance company says, no, you can't use anybody but it's in this box? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how it works.
Insurance can't tell you can't use certain
Correct.
contractors.
So normally anything board policy, 50,000 or more, we have to advertise in the paper, bids, and that's what we do, and that's when we choose, we like to go with local, because they pay taxes, every state is local. Kind of insurance is a little different, because you have a third party involved in this, not us alone, and I think that's pretty much where this stems from.
But so we could, if we wanted to, when we've had good success using this process for layers of protection, I guess. But we could, in fact, step outside that box and pick one of these other local companies,
We could,
if they in fact knew about it.
it would delay the process, though.
Yeah, and we could do that, and obviously the insurer would have to approve
Yeah.
who we wanted to use.
But you're right, it has special things, Robert, on this one, because it is insurance is damaged, you want to get it fixed, we got a time frame, so I know
Right.
this is a little bit different that way, we got to go with what we
Yeah.
can get done, right, so.
Yeah.
So normally if insurance is not involved in the process, we do it in-house with the bid process.
Even something this big?
Correct.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Well, we have an internal person that writes all of those for us.
yeah.
So Ted prepares all of them. So it's not like it would be really the only detriment to that at this point is that you're going to prolong the process, which doesn't make any difference to me. We might have a good January, you never know. And you're right, Houseman could do this job. The ones that can't, there are a lot of local ones that can't do it, but they're not going to bid it because they're not going to have the bonding capacity to bid it. You probably have to have $1 million bond on this project, I would say. It was either $1 million or $2 million.
Okay.
And with that being
Is
said,
Roberts aware that they're the only game in town?
well, through that co-op, yeah.
Co-op, yeah.
So their price may reflect that then.
Well, just think of the advantage of
Another
it.
25 companies could.
And that's all.
I know, but just think of the advantage being local. Those other 25 companies do not have a chance. Just have to bring their people here and everything, and this is in their backyard, so it's kind of unfair for Roberts, I guess, good. It kind of boxes them in.
I think maybe we should say something like, okay, we like the chamber, so let's use them to say, hey, if you want to bid for the school district, we use this program. And so you need to make all of your members aware that if they want to be a part of the St. Joe School District bid process, you have to be a part of this TIPS thing. Because then it's more fair. If I was unaware of a realtor referral program and only one company was aware of it, I'd never have a shot at it if nobody told me that there was a process.
How do we know
to
that
it.
they're not aware, though? I mean, a lot of,
I'm not saying that they aren't, I'm just saying, I've never been aware of it, and I guarantee you, when I leave here and I call 10 people, they won't know about it. They won't even know about it. We just have to be more, we have to be better at making sure everybody knows that how they get the bids, or how they at least get a chance. Robert still might be the best one to pick, but at least the other people were aware of it as well, so. That's my opinion.
But those companies are probably aware that there's a co-op of sorts.
They're aware.
To be able to get the greater number of bids.
that was my thing. I mean, a lot of professional companies already know about these things, even if the average person doesn't know, you know.
We
so-
work closely with our local vendors and contractors, so.
You can go to any of the equipment dealers in town, most of them know about cooperative purchasing, and they'll ask you what co-op are you part of, or they'll tell you which co-op they're part of, or to look at different pricing.
So how often have we used the co-op in the past?
I know on my CIP projects over the years, I have not used them always for the bid process.
Yeah.
But again, this is a different situation with the insurance company.
I mean, we use state co-ops regularly.
And we have the one GPA that we use for all our chemicals. It's another,
Oh, actually, it's tips now, they were cheaper.
yeah. Well, we do have
saving
two
about
options.
$20,000 by going through the tips contract.
You said going through tips is usually less expensive?
Well, with so we belong to various ones. When we changed the chemicals to tips, we ended up saving about $20,000 a year, just in increased costs through another. So tips is more generally focused towards the Midwest area. Some of your other co-ops are on your East Coast, West Coast, so their prices are a little different than what we can get them here. So what drives the prices up through their bids.
So then all of your chemical companies that would bid that, so Hilliard, you know, all of them are members of that. So Hilliard does most of our business, obviously, because they're local. They win the bids through that, though, not through a different process.
So is this time sensitive? So the roof at Hyde?
Yeah, it's been temporarily repaired since March.
I'm sorry?
It's had a temporary repair since March.
That's probably not going to hold up very long.
It would not be ideal to have that through the winter, I wouldn't think, yeah.
We're relying on tar paper at the moment, you know, and matting to keep it intact.
So we might keep that in mind too. Obviously, you know, my first idea would probably be to bid it out. But then also it's time sensitive, so you go through the co-op, you already know what you're going to get.
And if that's what the board would like us to do, we could do that.
We
but-
could actually bid it out from today and have it before the 26th board meeting. That's when you're approving it, right? 26th?
Yeah.
You can bid it out in 10 days.
Well, and really, we're doing
Dad
it
can write that up
as,
tomorrow.
we're doing it as part of the,
I'll have to advertise
part of the
for 2
budget.
weeks.
meetings.
2 weeks, that's what I'm saying, that'll get us what? You have to do 10 days, right?
10 days, and
Yeah, we
advertising.
have to have a bid opening on walk the jobs.
I'm totally okay with what you guys want to do right now with it, because you've answered all the questions. Let's not get clogged up on this one little thing here. It needs to be done, and
Because
I'm trusting you guys have made the right moves on this, so let's move.
This size
Dealing
of
with
the
a slate roof
project,
is tough, man.
That's
Right.
it's heavy, just disposing of that material is gonna be a job, and.
But that's again what I'm saying. My first idea would be bid it out, but because it's time sensitive, the winter's coming up, I mean, you say we could probably still have it back by the next board meeting, but, you know.
No, you couldn't. I just added it up in my head, you couldn't.
If you have to have a pre-bid meeting, you have to advertise it, then you have to come back with the bid process and then award that company. I don't,
It's already been bid, right, through this company, it's actually already been bid, it's already been bid.
So, for the sake of time, you probably want to stick with what you already have. Would you guys say that?
That would be our recommendation, definitely, yeah.
And Joe brings up a good point. We can make sure that we just do it the other way
I,
from now on.
the way I always think is, what can we do to avoid the public saying, why didn't we, dot, 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 dot. So
Good point.
if it was me, I would say, put it out for a bid for the 10 days and then circle back. It might be Robertson in the end, but at least we've done our due diligence so the public doesn't keep crucifying us. We're trying to have a new image. I think the board's doing a good job. I think our leadership is excellent. Everybody that's in place now around this table is exactly who is perfect for the job. I just think we have to make sure, I know that you all know what you're doing, but it's the public that has no idea about all this stuff. And if we throw it out there, it just makes us look more transparent. That's my opinion.
I'll
To
take
me.
6 months, I didn't know a lot about this stuff, so.
So-
I've obviously learned a lot
Yeah.
in that period of time about this type of thing.
Yeah, but I'm more conservative and cautious because I don't like that, you know, I'm on those watchdog groups and that you guys get crucified and I'm on there with LaTanya defending this because they're not here and they don't know the process, and maybe I shouldn't worry about someone's going to complain about something, you know?
They don't have to have knowledge of the subject to be on those pages?
No, you could be completely unqualified and uneducated.
You know, one point that she did make,
That's the requirement.
if you can give me a copy of those co-ops that we're in, and then I'll send them to Natalie, and Natalie can kick those. That is good, to kick them out to all the chamber people, and just say, hey, these are the co-ops, the school district wants you to be aware of what they're a member of. Please be cognizant of that, or whatever.
But I'm fine with what the majority thinks is
That's
appropriate.
excellent, and you have a good
Yeah.
relationship with them, the
Yeah.
Christie officers
Yeah,
and
it is a
stuff
good
like that.
idea. And then, because there are a lot of those people probably are members of the chamber.
But, I mean, our ball's forward enough on the playground now, maybe we should just leave it there and just do better the next round,
Yeah.
just do different next round.
excuses later after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah, it's already going, I wouldn't stop it.
And overall, we do that process, and you know, we're all taxpayers here, we want to make sure we're good stewards of that money, so we try to do the bidding process and try to get the best company for that position, make that work.
We're gonna be doing more roofs, don't worry, about 28 acres of them.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna be doing more. We get another bite at this apple.
That's the goal, to keep us off of this one for a while.
Yeah, I think that's smart, yeah, I'm fine with whatever you guys.
I do commend you for working with the insurance company to come up with a different solution than just repairing at that cost. You know, it's always harder to take that other step, and I know it's going to take some financial commitment from us to do that, but it's, I commend you for looking farther ahead.
Well, we try to convince them we'd probably be back every 6 months with another claim.
And if you knew Philip, the guy they had to work with, you'd really commend him. Did you tell Phil I said hi, by the way?
I will for sure.
Hey, you're on the record.
I know, he would appreciate I just said that. I dealt with him for a long time. I was on that music board for a while.
Any other questions about the road? Okay, we'll talk a little bit about the other item on the agenda today is the budget amendment. Katie and I took a look at where we were at after this last month. Really, we're in really good shape financially, to the point that we felt like we need to probably make some changes a little bit in our budget to be a little bit more accurate. So we removed $2 million from Fund 1 in non-certificated salaries. Really, right now, if it trended exactly like last month, we're about $7 million over for salaries and benefits this year. A lot of that probably is due to the fact we haven't been able to fill some positions and everything. Hopefully, some of those will fill as the year goes. But we do think we probably are shooting a little high there right now. So we took $2 million off of that, and we then did move some additional in some other areas though. We added some in the maintenance and supply budgets, into the CIP budget, which that would include some of the hide roof was part of that. We are working on some upgrades to sound systems, the elementary schools, and so we put a little bit of, another $150,000 into the budget to do that. We added some $100,000. We do have some other upgrades. They're working on the elementary cameras this year. Jake was a little bit concerned that some of those were going to come in a little bit higher this year because of equipment costs, things like that. So we added $100,000 to that budget. Nutrition services, early childhood, because we are now paying for all of those meals. We're a little bit blind on what that's going to cost us, and so we did add another $250,000 to that to try to make sure we're covered there. The Hilliard expansion, we're going to go ahead and budget the $1 million that we've committed for that Hilliard expansion. We know we have other groups that are kicking in from the county and the city, but we went ahead and put that $1 million into the budget there. Student services, we added a little bit to middle school football because we are purchasing some additional equipment because we have a good problem. We have a lot of extra kids out from what was initially indicated from our surveys. The downside of that, as many of you probably aware, is right now we can't buy all the equipment we need. There is a nationwide helmet shortage right now, and so Mr. Nolte has done a tremendous job of begging, borrowing, and stealing from other places. I reached out to, I brought some helmets from Troy, Kansas and Elwood, Kansas home with me the other day. So he borrowed some in Maryville, South Holt, Cameron, reached out to some contacts with the Kansas City Chiefs, who have already loaned all their extras out to Kansas City area high schools. So it's not a St. Joe problem, it's a nationwide problem right now with helmets. But we will look like a Pro Bowl team out there. But I don't know about that our play will look like a Pro Bowl team, but our helmets are going to look like a Pro Bowl team out there. But we are getting kids into equipment, and like I said, good problem. There's 180 kids that are out for football this year that were not out for football last fall. So that's 180 kids that are engaged every day for 2 hours after school with adults who are taking care of them. So it's a great problem to have. So we did put a little bit of extra money in the budget there.
Robert, could you mention how much a helmet costs nowadays?
They're around, I want to say the youth helmets, boy, Ken, you put me on the spot, right?
Okay, no, but I already know the answer. I already know the answer.
About $250 on the
Yeah.
youth, I think.
Yeah.
It's almost $400 for a high school.
And
Yeah.
again,
That's what I'm saying. People don't ask $400 for a helmet?
Wow.
I mean, that's
and
what
right
my
now,
car
the
costs.
cost isn't the issue. Yeah, I didn't know that. So that's what my car costs. But I will say that right now, it isn't a financial issue, it's just that they don't exist. Shut, the factory, the manufacturer that we purchased ours through has not shipped any helmets since March. And so it's, again, it's a supply chain issue that's going on everywhere. We put another $21,000 into some school needs. There were a couple of some furniture, some things like that in a couple of different places, just a little bit of additional there. ESOL software, because we have a larger number of students, there was some need for some additional there. They had requested, so we put $30,000 in there. And then we created a $5,000 budget for 504s for accommodations. Sometimes there's equipment, things like that needs to be purchased for a student's 504 plan that we just haven't had a budget for. And so we've created that. So even though we did all of those things with taking the $2 million out of salaries and benefits, we still have $136,000 less in our expenditures. On the flip side of that, our revenues have increased by $558,446 due to assessments. And so that was part of our adjustment a little bit with the tax rate, but we still are going to see some increased revenue because of that. So right now, currently, even with this amendment, we are still going to add a little bit to our our surplus. We're going to add about $695,000 more to the surplus than what we had projected, which means that at the end of the year, we're going to add another almost $1.6 million to our surplus. So again, we're in really good financial shape. That would put us at about a 27.9% fund balance right now.
What's the actual number? 27.9 is how many million?
27.9%.
Yeah, it's how many?
37 million, 37,386.
I see it, it's just really small.
One thing that I would make note, I know Senator Heckman's getting ready to go off and, or be term limited. And I don't know if any of you guys know Dan or not, but you might personally say something to him if you see him, because with fully funding transportation, he saved us about $1.2 million a year. I don't know that it will be funded going into the future, but Dan was very instrumental in that. So I do see Senator Heckman, make sure you tell him thank you, because it freed up a lot of these other things that we're allowed to do because it's not going into the transportation budget. So I just thought I'd make that note. He fought hard, not that other people didn't. Brenda was behind it as well, but Dan was very instrumental in making that happen, for sure.
Absolutely.
I just have one comment, and it's more for facilities, like the sound system and the cameras and stuff. I just think if we do have some schools that we are considering maybe a shift, I won't use the C word, but if we make a shift, in some of those, we'd be mindful to prioritize the school that we know 100% will stay around long-term.
We're at the end of upgrading
Not
all of our
okay.
security cameras.
Okay.
All buildings will have upgraded cameras by the end of this
Okay,
year.
I just want to make sure we weren't investing in ones we thought we were gonna.
And those cameras can be moved to other buildings too.
Which we are. We are.
Joe makes a good point, and I'll be honest with you, Mickey and Casey and I have those discussions all the time on the HVAC side.
Yeah.
We just had that conversation last week in regards to some HVAC upgrades that needed to be done that we kind of put on hold. So, yeah, we're cognizant
Yeah,
of
we're
that.
having those
and
conversations.
making sure.
Yeah.
On the staffing side, where you say we're still low, where's the major pain point, and how do you convince the community that, hey, we made it through this year with a lower level, maybe that's
Right.
the new normal? 'Cause
Well, maintenance is an area that we've been struggling with, although it's a little bit better right now than it has been. But also comes with that is we also have increased overtime hours to help cover those. The overtime hours obviously don't cost as much as what having actual people in those positions. They've had to modify some of the hours that we have coverage in buildings. So that's definitely been an area. Special education, we're still short-staffed there. Physical therapists, OT, those areas, we're actually going to have to probably do some contracting outside, which on a per-hour basis is much more expensive. So there's some things like that. Food service, I think there have been some challenges with staffing in some of those areas. So really, some paras, they've had a hard time. ESOL, we're short on.
ESOL is a big one, and that's one that actually is, it's an unfortunate challenge for us right now, because we had about 100 move in right after the first day of school, and we weren't prepared, and there's nobody to apply for those jobs. And so it's really frustrating on the ESOL side.
Yeah.
And we hear that we're going to get some Ukrainians over the next couple of months as well. So that challenge becomes more of a challenge every single day. You know, just to give you an example, we posted 16 attendance interventionist jobs. We posted 8 social worker jobs. We've hired 4 social workers and 5 attendance interventionists. And those jobs have been posted since we made the ESSER 3 announcement probably last December.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's just,
Gabe, what's the pay for those positions approximately?
on your attendance interventionist, it was a little over $16 an hour. I know that. And social workers is, it's pretty decent. I'm not sure,
It's
probably
competitive.
40,000 maybe.
It just, Mosaic has the same issue right now, social workers, that they just, it's hard to find them right now.
The $15 or $16 an hour, then is that a 40-hour week, 20-hour week?
It's 35, 37.5.
There's 7.5, yeah.
And we're going to see a shortage at Hilliard's as well coming up,
Yeah.
because ultimately, as we add this expansion, we're short on some teachers there, and it's hard to get skilled professionals that have the teaching certification to be able to come in and give up the time. I mean, right now, if you have a skill and you're willing to work, you're making more money than you've ever made as a skilled professional. So it's hard to get them to come into the teaching environment for what we're able to pay them.
We opened a HVAC instructor in October of 2021. Never got an applicant.
We did have one.
Well, that's right.
His experience was he installed a window.
Yeah, he installed a window.
Let's do it.
Anyway,
No, I should have applied that. No, I know who to hire to put it in for me at least.
but I will tell you this. We did have 13 of those kids that were in the second year program, and we were a little bit nervous as to what are we going to do. You know, we allow them to, but some of the local companies stepped up to the plate and they took these kids on and said,
I
hey,
actually have 3 of them in my group, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So they come out and they stepped up to the plate. So thanks to them and us, I guess, to help these kids out. So they're really actually probably getting more out of the class now than what they would have gotten.
We may have to become creative like that.
Yeah,
We have to
yeah.
have a facilitator or a teacher to run the class, to do the testing and things like that, but then send them out as almost an apprentice type scenario.
Well, you have,
But they have a program.
We do have an apprenticeship program,
There's a
yep.
program.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is almost becoming a program within a program.
Yeah,
It's really
started itself.
Yeah.
Special ed, I hear a lot of people say, special ed students, teachers, say that, thank you for adding more support. Do we feel, it's something that I think we should monitor. Well, I'm sure you guys already are, but I'd like to know more about, does it retain more staff? Because that's the goal. And do we see more people applying for these jobs?
That's going to have to be a question. for
That's a
Dr.
DLO
Kraus.
question, yeah.
Yeah, DLO, Dr. Kraus.
And you may not know just yet.
Not yet, but we
Yeah,
we can bring something back to you.
sure, absolutely.
another thing in reference to getting qualified people even to apply to be our techs out there at Hilliard's. Because of some creative thinking here, and the advisory council has heard this, you haven't heard the speech, but we can, why would somebody gonna come and teach out there for $60,000 a year when they're doing what they're doing for 120? And let alone other things, so guess how we can do that? And I'm willing to take on, if we have pushback from the other teachers' unions or whatever here, we can get around that. We can offer stipends. Now, in the past, that was a bad word, but that's 10 years ago now. Stipend on this is called extra duty pay.
Yeah.
So we can immediately put this job out that nobody's applying for $50,000 or whatever, and say, guess what? This job is $90,000 now, because we're going to appropriate what we have to do. Maybe 10 people that we have to take them from 50 to 90 through the stipend extra duty methods. In a $168 million budget, I'm willing to take the extra $500,000 on to get that most professional person in front of these techies for the next 5 years. And we got to do that. So people are fighting over that job because, hey, it does pay worth something, and they've got it in their heart to teach their profession to somebody. We need heart in the game, not somebody just there for the pay. But to get them there, we got to pay them. We can do that easily. Again, extra $40,000 times 10 teachers in our budget for the year to get the best person in there. We've just got to do that now. We can't keep talking about it, but that's what we're working on. Right, Gabe?
The advisory council, yes, they are.
Right, we're going to do stipends.
I don't know that it'll come from the school, and you didn't have to say stipend, you could have said extra duty. You said them both at the same time, you could leave the other one out.
No, we are putting this on the advisory council. We're
Yeah,
going to
we
do it
have-
as a school district. We're going to do it as a school district, however we do it.
I can tell you this, we have representatives from several companies in town who are interested in assisting us in that manner. Representatives from Altech, representatives from Gray Manufacturing, representatives from Herzog, representatives from
Schultz
Mosaic,
Electric.
R&S Electric.
15 of the top.
And they're representing a board that is serving, and they're willing to help us figure this out. We'll just put it that way.
They're also going to put all the equipment in the building. And we've got Altech to sign off for $250 yesterday. They already did it. And they're going to apply and leverage it for another $250. So it's gonna be about 3 million to fill up the building. Hey, I'll be on the corner of Belton and Frederick shaming those other 5 or 6 companies. They'd be putting their $250,000 in there.
I'm just hoping I can buy a Jeep for
I'll go 5.
I'll go fuck.
I just traded.
We're having bidding wars on your feet.
Didn't have a spare tire.
I mean, I need a car for one of my daughters, so.
One of my other questions slash suggestions, I guess, would be, since the bulk of this training is an apprenticeship, what portion of it could we outsource to the point where some of it is online from a teacher who may not even live in Missouri?
Well, we have, actually, one of the board members who serves on that has a company just for that.
Yeah.
Lou Tatia, you guys know, he used to serve as a board member for the Board of Education, and Valor Group also represents, and so they're looking at those options as well. I think there's probably opportunity out there, David, yes. But we want it to be, in the technical world, you want it to be as hands-on as possible. And that's what those kids, they're good with their hands, that's why they're there. And so we want to exhaust all options before we go down that route. But yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
Is that the only department that's struggling?
HVAC is, but to be honest with you, we're getting ready to expand welding. And we have a really good welding instructor, but who's to say we can find another one? We're getting ready to expand CNA and healthcare, which I think we'll probably be able to find on the healthcare side. But industrial maintenance,
Precision tooling.
diesel mechanics is what Alltech is putting in for us and donating the equipment, but who's to say you can find a diesel mechanic? It's hard to find one around here.
It's hard to get your diesel work done.
Yeah,
Right,
period.
right. So it'll be a challenge, but we just have to, that's one of the reasons why that board was formed, because I believe they can assist us in that way.
Yeah.
Right. I still think we should do it, but if we get the money out of those guys after they fill up the inside of it with their equipment. It's to their advantage for Altech to do this and their companies, because they're going to put their state-of-the-art equipment in the building, and when they come out, guess what? They're trained, they can go right to Altech. Herzog, all the rest of them, they can put their own type of equipment in it. It's state-of-the-art, and it's not on our nickel. And guess what? We're not talking 15,000 square foot anymore.
I know it's 25, right?
22.
I was still lobbying for 25. We got 22.
22,362.
Yeah, 22,362.
And I'll give a report at the 26th board meeting on that. Well, with him chiming in. He said, you leave it. I said, you want to give a report? No, you give the report and I'll talk when I want to.
See, I've got the Bradley Bugle. The Bradley Bugle is at least on my side saying that, hey, other people should have the enthusiasm I have for this, because it truly is for a community. It's not blue collar anymore, it's skilled labor. We're 30% manufacturing, all those jobs.
Did you say the Bradley?
Yes, for the record, David. Hey, I had some other business questions about this. You guys know how I feel about Hilliard's and what we're going to do there. We're filling it up with them, and so it kind of goes back a little bit. But I was wondering about this since it's such a good turnout for change the subject. But the junior high football, people turned out. Gabe did another great thing there. Nobody gets cut. Everybody gets to play this year, and that's the way it should always be in junior high from here on. So that's a great move. I'm just wondering if we can dovetail this somehow. Having those 180 kids involved, that means they got to pass classes. They got to take responsibility when they're in those classes. What if we also start up in conjunction with this for the girls cheerleading? And I'm not going to get like that saying it's just for girls, because all the professional people that have cheerleading, just as many men are on those teams as girls. And it gets me to my final question. We are allowing girls in junior high to play football, correct? Sure. Okay. You see some of those girls kick the soccer ball? Yeah. A junior high girl kicker from the 40-yard line, I think she's going to have a contract. So can we start up the cheerleading thing? It's going to cost money.
We have middle school cheerleading
I don't
already.
know like how
We do?
early they start.
We do
there.
have it already?
But
Okay,
my daughters are all cheerleaders in middle school.
good.
Yeah.
We already have
I
it
think it
then.
was only for basketball though, like,
Right,
I don't
it's
think
only
that they
for
begin as
basketball.
early.
Right.
But the teams are already established early.
Good.
I guess they could.
You know what's gonna be fun on this thing is we put two different, the junior highs together on the same team. Well, that kind of breaks up that north end, south end, 2-3-8 thing, doesn't it?
I feel like my meeting's been hijacked here.
Hey, Gabe, would you want to remind Robert who is the chairman
I'd
of the
say,
final?
he doesn't have to remind me, I know who's in charge of this meeting. I feel like Kenny's hijacked his own meeting, I should say.
All right, all right.
Hey, Robert Kenny, different subject, real quick different subject. Is there any concern about the fact that we're kind of including in this that we're moving $2 million out of salaries? And-
Well, that's a great question.
Just gone to the public, it's
And really, it's in the Fund 1, it's in the operating fund already. We moved it from the non-certificated part. So we felt like that was an area where we could move that. And it made the most sense to do that at that time.
Yeah, and I'm not being negative about the needs, I just don't want us to, I know we just had a really
We could
successful.
have, based upon
campaign.
last month, moved 7. I felt like we went very, very conservative with 2,
Yeah, okay, thanks a lot.
yeah.
And I totally understand when that was my question, you know, but the problem is the needs are there,
I know it.
but you also want to make it as real as possible. And so that was probably driven by me. I told him, I said, this thing needs to be real because the fund balance grew quite a bit last year. And I didn't want to look like it we were hiding something. And so that's why I directed them to make it more real. We have $2 million worth of needs and that would be spent on salaries if we could find the people to work
Yeah.
in order to be there. But
And
if they're not there, you don't want to show it that it's there.
Right.
No, but I also, I don't want to establish, and, you know, we can, as long as we identify, hey, these are kind of one-time needs, but sometimes we develop the next year's budget based on what was spent.
Sure, I get it. Yep.
And so before long, that money has been changed from salary, where we're growing the teachers'
Right.
salary. You know, everybody know what I'm saying. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to belabor that.
I get it.
point.
And I
I
will
get
tell
it.
you, too, we're gonna watch that very closely. There's a possibility we could come back in January with another amendment. Because of what Gabe said, we want the budget to accurately reflect what we really are bringing in and what we're spending. Any other questions?
A potential way to do that is to kind of keep this amendment as kind of part of the record of the budget, and then as you do the next year, you know, there's kind of this special need section.
Yep.
But we can either fund or not fund the
Not fund,
special
yes.
needs.
Yep. That's a good point.
Any other questions?
Good info.
Well, Kenny, do you want to call for adjournment because it's your meeting?
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion. I second.
Okay, I guess so.
I didn't know where we were at.
I'll make a motion, I second. Yes.
Thank you all for coming today. Appreciate it.
We had